following program is sponsored. The opinions and statements made by the hosts and guests do not necessarily reflect the views of WBOB or its parent company, the Chesapeake Portsmouth Broadcasting Corporation.
WBOB AM 600 The Answer is proud to present Tula's Tips for Caregivers. Help is on the air with Tula Wooten, your source to go for resources and information to help you in this rewarding but sometimes challenging role. Tula's Tips for Caregivers is brought to you by Agewell Institute at Baptist Health, by Elmcroft Assisted Living and Memory Care, by the AARP, and by Bartram Lakes Brooks Assisted Living. To participate in today's show, call 904-222-TALK. That's 904-222-8255. Now here's Tula.
Well, good morning. Hi, everybody. Happy Saturday. Welcome aboard Tula's Tips for Caregivers. I'm Troy Doughan, the Dawn of Home Care, and I get the huge honor of serving as guest host and privilege of our good friend Tula, who is off spending some quality time with her family today. And Tula, if you're listening, we just want you to know that we're thinking and praying for you and looking forward to having you back on the air next week. And that is the good news to share, that she is back with us. And I know she has some really good shows and topics lined up for the coming months here in 2016. For those of you that may be listening for the first time, Tula Wooten started this program over 6 years ago with the mission and goal to be a voice and support system for you, the caregiver. Did you know she's a caregiver? She cares for her own parents, so she can relate to all of you with the ups and downs that you may face. This program here, today's Tula's Tips for Caregivers, is on each and every Saturday morning, 11 o'clock right here. So stay tuned in, and we also want you to call in. So feel free. Call us, 904-222-TALK, 904-222-8255 with any questions or comments. We would love to have you on the air, my friend. Speaking of friends, today's guest is truly a friend of our program. You may know him as the bow tie guy, but I know him as Chris MacLellan. Chris is from the South Florida area. Chris is a caregiver. He is an author, advocate, and just an all-around great person. Welcome back, Chris. How are you, my friend?
It's nice to be to my second home in Florida, Jacksonville.
Yes, it is.
And with the dawn of home health care.
Today's journey should be a really good discussion for you, our listeners. And Chris is an expert. And as you may know, our topic today is long-distance caregiving, long-distance caregivers that are out there. And we're going to dive into many questions, and we hope to answer some of those questions along the way for the next hour. Chris, before we jump in, though, share with our listener some details about you, your experiences, and your expertise as a caregiver.
Well, like so many of the listeners, caregiving just happened. My partner, Richard, was diagnosed with esophagus cancer in summer of 2011, and life changed. Life changed that day. And, nobody plans to be a caregiver. It's not on anybody's bucket list. And suddenly you're thrust into this role, and I took it on, happy for it. And now it's 2 years past his life transition, and I continue to advocate for caregivers because I don't think there's anything that's more healing for caregivers than to share their stories and help other caregivers out. That's how we do this system of caregiving. It's sharing our stories.
It really is.
We all have a story.
It really, and you're right, everybody does. Everybody does. You wrote a book.
What's the deal with caregiving?
Tell me about the book.
Well, the book was very therapeutic, as was blogging about caregiving on my blog, The Purple Jacket. But the book, it's not so much. It's not a memoir. It's not a how-to. It's a little bit of both, and it's just it was my own personal therapy per se on after caregiving ends. So that's the last chapter is focused on that, and in fact, I have 3 more chapters that are ready to come out, and
wow.
A second edition. Well, hopefully, we'll get that out by the 1st of November, which is National Caregiving Month.
It sure is. That's right around the corner.
Mm-hmm.
Tell the listeners, where can they find themselves a copy of this book?
It's really easy. There's two places you could go. You can go to Amazon.com or just Google what's the deal with caregiving, or you can see the link on either one of my websites, thepurplejacket.com or thebowtieguy.com.
The Bowtie Guy. And remind our listeners about the persona of the Bowtie Guy.
Well, that all started, I was trying to figure out what Twitter name should I have. And I started wearing bow ties 20 years ago, and it just kind of stuck. So that's my persona. Wearing a bow tie is like wearing two smiles. It always starts a conversation.
I believe that.
So in that, even though I'm incognito today, I've just kind of stuck with it, and now I'm kind of recognized as the bow tie guy.
And you really are, and it fits you well, and it does put a smile on people's faces.
It's a conversation. It is a conversation piece.
Well said. Well said. What's next for Chris MacLellan?
Well, life is transitioning right now. I've just started my own company called the Whole Care Network.
Okay.
We my radio show Healing Ties from the Bowtie Guy is syndicated in the UK on UKHealthRadio.com.
Wow.
We're internet based. We're not the high society like we are here at Tula. I'm trying to get to her. I'm trying to get to her level, but I'm looking to take my brand Healing Ties and go out into the communities and find people in communities who is creating healing ties, both on the business side and through families. Tula is a great example. Tula is somebody that's creating healing ties in the Jacksonville area. You're another example of somebody that's creating healing ties. Like we mentioned earlier, it all comes back to sharing and telling stories.
It really does.
And when we're able to do that, not only do we feel good about it, we also share resources. And if there's two things that caregivers really want and need, they need validation and they need resources. And we do that by telling stories.
That is great information, because that's so true, because it is such a challenge. Like you mentioned a few minutes ago, you're on your life's journey one day, and tomorrow it takes a left turn, and you're now a full-time caregiver for your loved one.
Yeah, caregiving just happens. It's either an untimely diagnosis or an unfortunate accident. Like I mentioned earlier, caregiving is not on anybody's bucket list, but it's something that we all have to prepare for. We are all expectant caregivers. We may not want to believe that, but we are. And just by having a few things in place, the old adage of the legal documents, and we're going to get into this long distance care, because there's some issues there that people just, when you're living in two cities,
it has to be a challenge.
It is a challenge,
Forefront.
but if you can just prepare a little bit for the unexpected, and we can get into that throughout the show today.
Yeah, like I mentioned, it's going to be a great show. We're going to walk you through this journey of long-distance caregiving. So our audience today is maybe you're living out of state, out of town, your loved one lives here locally. We want to help you connect the dots, because if you're up there thinking, where do I even start? Hopefully Chris and I can open up some avenues for you and help you along the way. And again, I want to remind you, if you want to call in today, please do. We'd love to hear from you. 904-222-TALK, 904-222-8255, and we're with you up until 12 noon Eastern Time here on Tula's Tips for Caregivers. So, Chris, let's jump in with probably the main question, and we're going to take a quick break, and we'll come back and pick up after this. But how do I know if my loved one isn't doing well or actually needs help? And we can pick up on the other side.
Great start.
That's going to be a good starting point.
That's going to be a great start.
Because I'm sure that's probably where a lot of our listeners are at right now.
I like the music coming in, too.
Oh, that sounds great.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening. You're listening to Tula's Tips for Caregivers on AM 600, WBOB 100.3. Thanks to our sponsors. We will be right back.
George, I got the job. Thanks, I'm so excited. They hired me on the spot right after the interview. It was that book I bought from Amazon, From the Interview to the Paycheck by Fred Haley. The book really taught me something. It helped me to think about what the boss wants. Then it helped me with answers that show that I can do the job. I can tell they were impressed when I introduced myself. I just followed the simple outline from the interview to the paycheck book, and I know I won the job with my first 90 days plan the book recommended. They said no one else had ever been so prepared. You should get the book. It's on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle. It's worth it if you want to get hired. Just search for From the Interview to the Paycheck by Fred Haley. Do it now.
Have you read the new book, Love Stories and Timeless Tips yet? It's by our own Tula Wooten with Tula's Tips for Caregivers. Tula is a caregiver too, as well as an expert on caregiving. You can get it in paperback or on Kindle at Amazon.com. The book is filled with touching stories of caregivers taking care of their loved ones. Each chapter has helpful ideas that we all can use. I love that Tula included a Tula's tip with each story. Her message to caregivers is clear. Take care of yourself so that you can take care of your loved one. This is a beautiful book for all caregivers to read, whether you're a part-time, full-time, or long-distance caregiver, or someone receiving care. You should get the book today. Just go to Amazon.com. Search for Love Stories and Timeless Tips by Tula Wooten.
Hi, this is Tula, and I'm here to talk to you about Baptist's new Age Well Institute. Are you caring for a loved one who's 65 or older? Are you a boomer like myself who's caring for a parent? And perhaps your parent has been experiencing some decline in their overall health. Let me highly recommend to you the Baptist Age Well Institute. They have the only real geriatrician here in Northeast Florida who is able to look at the whole person. Their comprehensive approach includes a nurse, a doctor, a social worker, a pharmacist, a dietitian. They have their own physical therapy there. They can work with folks with memory disorders. My goal is to help you, the caregiver, find an organization that can care for your loved one who's 65 or older. I take my own parents there, and I highly recommend the Age Well Institute at Baptist. Please give them a call at 904-202-4243. Again, that's 904-202-4243. You'll be so glad you did.
Are you burdened with a loved one's medical bills and confused about who and how much to pay? Are there medical claims that have been denied? When you work with Claim Medic, they review your bills for accuracy every month and deal directly with your insurance company to make sure you receive every benefit that you pay for and never pay a bill that you don't owe. At Claim Medic, they offer free audits of up to 3 years of past medical bills to identify any past billing errors and recover overpayments you may have made. And their monthly bill review service will ensure that future bills are accurate before you pay. With Claim Medic as your personal medical claim specialist, you can focus on what matters most, the health and comfort of your loved one, and rest easy knowing that their medical bills are managed by experts who care. Ready to start? Call 888-988-2985 to speak with a specialist or visit ClaimMedic.com. That's 888-988-2985. With Claim Medic on your side, you'll never pay a medical bill you don't owe.
Have you noticed that mom or dad seems to be slipping a bit? Forgetting appointments, skipping meals, repeating stories? You know they're not ready for a nursing home, yet they could benefit from some kind of help. Brooks Rehabilitation invites you to redefine assisted living at Bartram Lakes. Bartram Lakes Assisted Living offers care and services for adults who value choice and independence, yet benefit from 24/7 support. Our residents embrace life, develop friendships, and live life to its fullest. Our residents' families benefit from having peace of mind, knowing that Brooks Rehabilitation, a trusted name in Jacksonville healthcare for 40 years, is overseeing their loved ones' care. Come and visit Bartram Lakes Assisted Living. To schedule a tour, call 904-528-3515. That's 904-528-3515. Or visit www.bartramlakes.org.
And now let's return to Tula's Tips for Caregivers, brought to you in part by Age Well Institute at Baptist Health, by Elmcroft Assisted Living and Memory Care, by Apex Home Health Care, by the AARP, and by Bartram Lakes Brooks Assisted Living. Once again, here's Tula.
Welcome back, everyone. Glad you're on board today with us. Troy Doughan here with my good friend Chris MacLellan, and we're talking today about long-distance caregiving and the long-distance caregiver that's out there. And I encourage you to call in today, and if you want to be ask a question or share a comment with Chris and I, I'd be happy to hear from you. It's 904-222-TALK, 904-222-8255, and we're with you until 12 noon today. So before the break, we left off with the question that I was asking Chris is, how do I know if my loved one isn't doing well or needs help, and what are some signs of self-neglect?
Well, when it's a long-distance caregiving situation, that's going to be very difficult to recognize. And it all really comes back to consistency. My suggestion is when you're talking to your loved one, whether it's your parents or your child, whatever direction the long-distance caregiving is, take copious notes. Look for inconsistencies in questions that you ask. Those are usually some signs that there's something going on.
For instance, they're not sharing with you the same details as they did on last Sunday's call.
Exactly. Yeah.
Have they eaten? Have they taken their medications?
Who have you seen this past week?
That's right.
Did you get to church? Did you get? You ask the same questions. You maybe ask them in different patterns. But the key is you have to, write a journal, take notes, look for inconsistencies in the questions that you're asking. Those are usually one of your first telltale signs.
And that does actually make sense. So I see these signs. I've made note of them in my journal. Who do I call? What do I do if I don't have any other resources, no other siblings to lean on? Who can I call locally to assist me as a long-distance caregiver?
Well, and that's one of the main roles of a caregiver is that of an advocate. And whether you're in town or long distance, know who your parents, know who their friends are.
That's right.
Where they go to church, who their doctors are. Make sure you have your legal proxies in place so you can talk to professionals. Have somebody that you know that you can trust that will keep an eye out for them.
I was just going to mention that can be the local eyes and ears.
The local eyes and ears
of your loved one.
We all have our different levels of technology. Right. A little tongue twister there. It could be as simple as teaching your loved ones how to Skype.
That's right.
So you get that visual
or that FaceTime.
One of those ways of these new ways of communicating
and connecting
and
having that eyes on your loved one.
Yeah, and if you're real advanced, there's a number of different apps that are out there right now that can help tie everybody together that's on the care team, and that's what it's all about. It's about creating a care team, whether it's local or within different states. You and I have some things going on with our families that your family's in Iowa.
That's right.
Most of my family's in Missouri.
That's right. Midwest.
Yeah, the Midwest. And how do you coordinate these things? And it's through communication, advocacy, trusted partners. One of the things, and I'm at fault myself. Caregivers often don't ask for help because they look at it as a sign of weakness.
That's right.
But really asking for help is a sign of strength, and more so when it's a long distance caregiving situation. You have to develop that trusted care team.
That's right. You're only hurting yourself if you're not asking for help.
Yeah, well, your caregiving cape can only snap so far.
That's right. Geriatric care managers, they're all over. Pros and cons.
Do we have just an hour? But no, actually, there are a tremendous amount of terrific geriatric care managers throughout the country, and there are care manager associations, so you could check people's credibilities.
That's right.
There's also certified senior advisors. I happen to be one of those.
Oh, fantastic!
And those, we go through rigorous training. They certified senior advisors come with different talents and skills.
Okay.
But we're usually resource based, and they're not supposed to be hands on, but they can guide you to trusted resources.
So you're almost a resource in that regard.
Kind of like the source for the source.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Well said. I like that. So that's definitely an option for you listeners. Is check into a senior advisor or a local geriatric care manager, because they're trained and focused on helping loved ones here in our area.
Exactly.
For sure.
It's finding somebody that knows the resources.
It's a major plus. Let's switch gears just a little bit. Precautions that we can take with our loved ones if we feel as if they're being mistreated by their paid caregiver. So mom and dad have a home care company in there providing care a couple days a week. How can I make sure mom and dad are safe in their own dwelling, their own home?
Well, it comes back to having that objective third person involved in the care plan as well, whether it's a CSA or a geriatric care manager, or it's just it's kind of like a friend stopping by at an unexpected time, changing the patterns of communication. I know a number of folks who end up putting their loved ones in a nursing facility. One of the things that they do is they go and check on them in off hours.
That's right. Random,
and that's a trait that's nationwide that people do, and we have to have that same concept when we're dealing with things in the home as well.
I agree. We have our first caller today. Mike, welcome to the program, Tula's Tips for Caregivers. How can we help you?
Well, I've got a situation. Excuse me, I'm driving down the road, but my father's in Texas, and I'm a retired firefighter paramedic, and I'm detecting this senile dementia onset. And I thought I had help out there in a niece. So far, the only thing she's done is gone after power of attorney. And from everything I'm checking out, she's not spending any time with him. So I'm afraid I'm going to have to go to Texas unannounced and figure out what to do. I'm trying to set up things to bring him to me here in Florida. But the problem I might have is to get rid of that power of attorney that she has and put it back in with me and get him to Florida. I'm afraid she's just taking him to the cleaners, but I can't prove it, so I'm going to have to show up. I've already been caregiver to 2 other people already, and the long distance is the thing that's getting me. I don't feel confident with the help he's getting there.
Right.
And I'm going to have to go firsthand and see what I've got going on, and then try to expedite everything when I get there as far as legal-wise to make sure that he's well taken care of. I don't plan on putting him in a home. I'll bring him home with me. I love the old man to pieces, but that's the perplex, the legal things that I can do at a rapid pace when I'm in Texas to turn some things that have been done around. And that's with him with the onset of senile dementia, I see where I might have to have a legal aid or a lawyer with me to do what I need to do. And that's bothering me.
Yeah, actually, I appreciate you calling in. There's a couple of options. Each state has an area agency on aging. It might be called something different in Texas, but if you probably go on the state's website, you'll see something for aging. And that legal component in caregiving is so important. Who has the power of attorney? And
the
getting
niece.
The niece, and you're the son, correct?
Yes, sir.
So I'm not an attorney, but in most cases, the being the son is going to outweigh being the niece. You're in the hierarchy of the family tree. That's why it's probably going to be critical for you to talk to an attorney both in Texas and in Florida.
Okay. Is there any lawyer here in the area or do I need to just contact the bar and find the right attorney to handle this in Florida?
You could do that, or the local area agency on aging here in the Jacksonville area, which is quite extensive. So we'll try to get a phone number for him.
I'm in Clay County, so I imagine I'll be going to Clay County Council on Aging.
We'll check that out on the break, and then we'll let you know on the return. How's that?
I appreciate it, and I'll be listening.
Okay.
You're listening to AM 600 WBOB, FM 100.3, Tula's Tips for Caregivers.
Hugh Hewitt, Laura Ingram, Dennis Prager, The Savage Nation, MacLellan, WBOB, AM 600. The Answer.
With SRN News, I'm Bob Agnew in Washington. Authorities say a fifth person has died following that shooting last night at a shopping mall in Washington State. An unidentified male victim died early today at a Seattle hospital. 4 female victims had died at the actual scene of the shooting at a Macy's inside the mall, the Cascade Mall in Burlington. Authorities are continuing to search for the suspect, said to be a lone man, possibly a Hispanic male with a hunting-style rifle, they say. A police spokesman in Iraq says a triple suicide bombing against a security checkpoint north of Baghdad today killed 11 members of security forces there. The spokesman says the attack occurred as a local police chief and the head of the Provincial Security Committee were paying a visit to the site. Both escaped unharmed. President Obama on hand today on the National Mall, helping to inaugurate a new Smithsonian Museum in honor of Black history. This is SRN News.
The lesson to be learned, which I've always known, but now I have empirical proof, is that commenters are far more likely to be people who differ. That's the way it works. That's what stirs their passion. Or perhaps people with more liberal views are more likely to write their critique than people with conservative views will write their affirmation.
Dennis Prager at noon on WBOB, The Answer.
Come on back. That's good. Hi there, I'm Jeff Martin from Martin Appliance and More, and we just this minute got a huge trailer load of scratch and dent appliances from GE. We have refrigerators, ranges, washers, dryers, and more. They are brand new with full factory warranty and are great bargains. A small blemish saves you a bunch. A little bump saves you big bucks. A dent can mean hundreds of dollars in savings. Come see us at Martin Appliance and More in Orange Park on Blanding, just a mile south of Kingsley and across from Academy Sports and Outdoors. Find and like us at facebook.com/Martin Appliance and More to see pictures. Oh my! Here comes the Frigidaire truckload. We have a store full of appliance bargains. Hurry in, come get them and save at Martin Appliance and More. Mon back, truck driver, mon back.
What you see is what you get. Martin Appliance family.
Don't stress over a leaky or damaged roof. Just call Perkins Express Roofing. Perkins Express Roofing is available 24/7. If you've had damage from a storm or accident, there's a good chance insurance will cover it, and Perkins Express Roofing will do all of the paperwork for you. If you're remodeling, renovating, or building a new home or building, let Perkins Express Roofing's parent company, MCM Builders, do a free estimate and show you how much they can save you. From a leak to a whole roof, Perkins Express Roofing is locally owned and operated and totally licensed and insured. Your roof is one of the most important parts of your home. Trust the professionals at Perkins Express Roofing. Call 904-525-2277 or 626-2860. Currently hiring sales reps. Equal opportunity employer. Perkins Express Roofing says we keep you covered. 525-2277 or 626-2860. State license number CCC 1330452.
Stuck in traffic? WBOB has the answer.
A couple of crashes out there, Lem Turner Road at Lanny Road, and another one at Beach Boulevard at Station Creek Road. Going to be partly sunny today, high 87, 10% chance of showers tonight, partly cloudy, low 75. As for Sunday, 30% chance of showers, partly sunny, high 86, 40% chance to rain. Sunday night, low 74. It's currently 82 right here at WBOB. AM 600, The Answer.
And now let's return to Tula's Tips for Caregivers, brought to you in part by Age Well Institute at Baptist Health, by Elmcroft Assisted Living and Memory Care, by Apex Home Health Care, by the AARP, and by Bartram Lakes Brooks Assisted Living. Once again, here's Tula.
Welcome back, everybody. Glad you're on board today with us. It's Troy Doughan, the Dawn of Healthcare here in Jacksonville, and my good friend Chris MacLellan, the bow tie guy. And we are enjoying our discussion today about long-distance caregiving and long-distance caregivers. And we just had a great caller, Mike, call in, and we want to follow up for him with some information that we can share.
Yeah, that was a great call, Mike. And Clay County does have a Council on Aging. So I don't know if you're driving, but I am going to give you the number. That's a 904-272-8255. 904-284-3134. That's the Council on Aging in Clare County. 904-284-3134. And there's two friends of the show that of Tula's that are elder care attorneys. I certainly would suggest that you get in contact with either one of them, Mike Jorgensen or Rebecca Burke. And I think those contacts are on Tula's website, if I remember correctly.
I think they are as well, and they're both great resources for you to call Mike or anybody that's listening today is you want some legal advice.
Elder care attorneys are,
they're your friend. They're your friend. Picking back up as to what Mike was calling about in regards to the legality issue of your loved one, Chris, what can I do to help my family, my parents, organize their paperwork from afar?
Well, that is an excellent question because we had personal experience with that. Going back and forth from Missouri to Florida, laws are different in both states.
That's right.
And sometimes power of attorneys, healthcare proxies, they don't always transfer because the language is a little bit different. My suggestion is to make sure that you have these documents that are written in both states. If you're long distance, like Mike is talking about bringing his father over here, he's going to need the documents in both states.
That makes sense. So it could be the will, it could be financial statements, medical,
durable power, fiduciary, all that.
All of the above.
You can never have enough legal documents.
And what happens, Chris, if that is not in place? What could happen to the child, such as myself?
Well, every state in the union has a plan for an individual who does not have a plan. And in most cases, you're not going to like the state's plan.
It's like a default plan.
Mm-hmm. And again, it goes back to that question we started the show about preparing for the unexpected. Mm-hmm. It's having these uncomfortable conversations with our friends and families that we know we need to have, but we don't. Do you have a will? Do you have a healthcare proxy, power of attorney, durable power? Who's your fiduciary? Kind of a crass example here would be parents, and I'm not a parent, so I'm speaking to a parent who sends their child off to school. They're 18 years of age. They're now adults. What happens if something happens to them at school? Who has the power of attorney, healthcare proxy, who can speak on that? It's the same concept. We don't like to have these conversations.
No.
And then oftentimes we have these conversations when we're on our way to the hospital.
Well, when it's dire need.
Where's the doc? Where's the healthcare? Where's the power of attorney? Where is it?
And nobody is thinking straight at those type of times.
Exactly.
So our advice to you is have this in order, have it there in your back pocket. So when the time does come, because it's unfortunately for everybody,
right,
it's going to happen.
We used to carry a little green folder. I carried it everywhere. In fact, it was written about in our story in Sickness and Health, A Couple's Final Journey in the South Florida Sun Sentinel, about how that green folder went everywhere with me. Healthcare proxy, power of attorneys, it was there. Because if I was to come on to a healthcare professional that did not know us, that piece of paper was the key.
The most important piece of the puzzle.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Well said. Backing up. So we're the long distance child. We identify mom and dad have some needs. How do we talk about it with mom and dad or with our loved ones, our parents? How do you initiate that conversation without tipping over the wall, per se?
Well, it's most important to have open-ended questions. And it's most important to have as many people involved in the conversation as possible. Sometimes if it's a large family, you might need an objective third person, a facilitator, a geriatric care manager, a
senior
advisor, somebody that their only skin in the game is to ensure that everybody's needs are met.
Right.
Because oftentimes when you're dealing with these issues with family, what happens? Family baggage comes up.
That's right.
We have to leave the family baggage at the door in order to have these important conversations so that the proper care can be put in place.
That makes sense.
Not an easy thing.
Not an easy thing. And I think about the families that have those discussions, and we just want to encourage you that if you're preempting yourself to go through that, like Chris just mentioned, do the right thing and keep the task at hand at the forefront.
Exactly.
Because keep the rest of it outside.
When an emergency happens, the last thing you want to be searching for is these important documents.
That's right. So it's almost key to have somebody either, like you said, a sibling or a neutral person in place. Mm-hmm. So then as things progress, everything lines up, everything goes as planned, and there's peace and calmity.
A lot of folks are connected either to a social group or a church. There's trusted friends and neighbors. It's engaging these folks who are involved in the day-to-day care.
That's right. It could be your home health nurse. It could be your visiting physician. It could be your caregiver.
Right.
Any of the above. Their job is to be that local resource, the eyes and the ears in the home to make sure mom and dad are taking care of themselves on a day-to-day basis with personal care and meals and medications and
exactly.
housekeeping and transportation services to the doctor, grocery store, church, etc. All of it is above, and we understand as a long-distance caregiver, not being in the present can make for a stressor.
Very much so, because you don't know what's going on.
You don't know what's going on, and you think you may know.
But when you think about it, though, even if your parents or your spouse are living by themselves locally, what plans do you have in place because you're not there 24/7?
That's right.
The same really goes. It's the same theory that really happens.
That's fantastic. Yeah. We have another caller today. It's our dear friend Tula. Tula, welcome in.
Well, thank you, Troy and Chris. I just wanted to call in and personally say thank you for hosting my show today, Troy. And Chris, thank you for being a guest. You guys rock. I know you're doing a great, awesome job. I've tuned in just a little bit, but I'm attending a shower for my soon-to-be beautiful daughter-in-law. So thank you for taking this time for me today.
Well, you are most welcome, and we are honored and privileged to be in your chair today. And as I mentioned at the top of the show, glad you're back with us next week and that you're going to continue your mission of being that voice and that support system for all of us caregivers here in Northeast Florida.
These are tough stilettos to fill.
This lady's too old for the stilettos, but thank you for saying that. We're doing the comfort shoes these days.
There you go.
But Chris, I miss you. I hope we get to see each other soon. And
we will.
I know we're talking about the importance of planning ahead, and I just can't reiterate that enough, that families need to come together in the arena of love, if you will, and realize that is the reason you're doing what you're doing. And as hard as it is to put aside all of your family history and baggage, as you just alluded to, that's the most important thing you can do for your loved one, keeping them the focus.
That's so true. It's all about love, care, and commitment.
It really is. And thank you for the love, care, and commitment you guys have. You're showing it to me today, and I appreciate it.
We're sending you hugs through the airwaves.
Thank you, guys. I'll see you both soon.
Okay.
Have a great weekend,
Okay.
Tula.
Thank you. Blessings. Bye-bye.
We're going to take a quick break here coming up, and we're going to pick back up. And actually, it'll be our final segment, Chris. Time flies when you're having fun on a Saturday morning. But this is such a great topic for us to talk about, and we really haven't even dove into the majority of all the points that we wanted to make. But we'll be back in just a minute. You're listening to AM 600, WBOB, FM 100.3, The Answer.
Hi, everyone, this is Tula again, and I'm here to tell you about the Agewell Institute at Baptist Health. They're located in the San Marco area. I've been taking my own parents there for about 2 years now. Dr. Lance, the geriatrician on staff, has done remarkable things for both my parents and for me, the caregiver. They have great information, advice, and resources to help me. Dr. Lance and her team of social workers, dietitians, nurses, therapists, and the pharmacist have been so instrumental in helping me keep my own parents independent and living in their own home where they want to be. If you're looking for someone to either supplement the care that your primary physician is giving to your loved one who's 65 or older, or to perhaps become their primary care physician, I really encourage you to call the Agewell Institute at Baptist. Their number is 904-202-4243. Again, that's 904-202-4243.
Are you burdened with a loved one's medical bills and confused about who and how much to pay? Are there medical claims that have been denied? When you work with Claim Medic, they review your bills for accuracy every month and deal directly with your insurance company to make sure you receive every benefit that you pay for and never pay a bill that you don't owe. At Claim Medic, they offer free audits of up to 3 years of past medical bills to identify any past billing errors and recover overpayments you may have made. And their monthly bill review service will ensure that future bills are accurate before you pay. With Claim Medic as your personal medical claim specialist, you can focus on what matters most, the health and comfort of your loved one, and rest easy knowing that their medical bills are managed by experts who care. Ready to start? Call 888-988-2985 to speak with a specialist or visit ClaimMedic.com. That's 888-988-2985. With Claim Medic on your side, you'll never pay a medical bill you don't owe.
George, I got the job. Thanks, I'm so excited. They hired me on the spot right after the interview. It was that book I bought from Amazon, From the Interview to the Paycheck by Fred Haley. The book really taught me something. It helped me to think about what the boss wants. Then it helped me with answers that show that I can do the job. I can tell they were impressed when I introduced myself. I just followed the simple outline from the Interview to the Paycheck book, and I know I won the job with my first 90 days plan the book recommended. They said no one else had ever been so prepared. You should get the book. It's on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle. It's worth it if you want to get hired. Just search for From the Interview to the Paycheck by Fred Haley. Do it now.
Have you read the new book, Love Stories and Timeless Tips yet? It's by our own Tula Wooten with Tula's Tips for Caregivers. Tula is a caregiver too, as well as an expert on caregiving. You can get it in paperback or on Kindle at Amazon.com. The book is filled with touching stories of caregivers taking care of their loved ones. Each chapter has helpful ideas that we all can use. I love that Tula included a Tula's tip with each story. Her message to caregivers is clear. Take care of yourself so that you can take care of your loved one. This is a beautiful book for all caregivers to read, whether you're a part-time, full-time, or long-distance caregiver, or someone receiving care. You should get the book today. Just go to Amazon.com. Search for Love Stories and Timeless Tips by Tula Wooten. And now let's return to Tula's Tips for Caregivers, brought to you in part by Agewell Institute at Baptist Health, by Elmcroft Assisted Living and Memory Care, by Apex Home Health Care, by the AARP, and by Bartram Lakes Brooks Assisted Living. Once again, here's Tula.
Welcome back, friends. Glad you're on board today with us. Happy Saturday. From Northeast Florida. I'm Troy Doughan, guest host today for our good friend Tula Wooten, and my guest is my good friend Chris MacLellan, the bow tie guy, and we have been talking about long-distance caregiving, and we hope that we've been able to help you out today with some tidbits and thoughts and expertise on our end. Chris, I want to circle back and bring up this topic, which can certainly be hard to communicate not only with your loved ones, but with siblings and others involved in the relationship. But how do I know when it's time for hospice care? And tell our listener that may not even know about hospice care the definition.
Well, the definition. There's a lot of there's a number of different definitions of hospice care. Tula could probably do the best, but I would say for me it's end of life care. Pure and simple.
Okay.
But it's more than that. It's care for the entire family. And this goes right into the conversation we've been having. It's being prepared for the unknown. It's having that discussion. But for instance, you're my caregiver. You wouldn't be able to know if I was ready for hospice unless I told you.
That's right.
We would need to have that discussion way before that decision was made, so you knew what my wishes were.
That's right.
And here's an example I can use from our caregiving experience. Richard told me, I remember him sitting across the table, I will tell you when I'm ready for hospice. You don't need to tell me when I'm ready. And I thought, the more I thought about that, I said, well, he's exactly right. We had that conversation. And when it came time for hospice, he was ready. He got up out of the chair, which he had not been able to get up on his own for 3 or 4 days, and walked to the gurney that the ambulance brought to take him to the hospice. That was his way of telling me he was ready to go. It's having these preemptive conversations that we don't like to have.
No, we sure don't. What's the doctor's involvement in ordering hospice care?
Well, the doctor certainly has to be actively involved. You just can't go to hospice without a prescription.
Okay.
There's something that the doctor definitely has to be involved. Okay. You just can't pick up and knock on the door and say I'm here to be kind of flippant about it.
Right.
But no, the doctor's involved in that conversation as well, and it's equally important that they're on top of this,
right?
Because it could happen in a moment's notice.
What's the average? Isn't it? Isn't like a 6-month window? Is that
6-month window?
Okay.
Right, 6-month window.
Okay.
Yeah, and they say, well, your life expectancy is 6 months. Who really knows what life expectancy is?
That's
Richard was given 3 to 4 months to live after his diagnosis, and lived 29 more months. Who knows?
Right.
I wanted to bring hospice in right after the diagnosis. He wasn't ready for it.
He wasn't ready.
Because we hadn't had that conversation. Well, we did that day.
Right.
But I was fortunate. I was fortunate that we were able to have these open conversations, and I encourage our listeners to find a way to do that.
That's great. I looked up some statistics for long.
I know it's a tongue twister.
If I can pronounce it, of long distance caregiving. And it says there's about 3.3 million long distance caregivers across the nation. That's a lot of caregiving.
And I would bet more than half of them are here in the entire state of Florida.
Yeah, no, obviously, we get a lot of calls from out of town family members,
right?
Concerned and calling about their loved ones here locally. So it's the norm, and I'm actually in the same boat, living here in Jacksonville, Florida, and my family's based back in the Midwest in Iowa. I'm a long distance caregiver, and I'm proud to be.
And it's a role that you don't shy away from, but again, it's a role that you have to be prepared for. You have to know you have to know what the resources are in Iowa.
That's right.
As I have to know the resources in Missouri.
And I took note earlier when you mentioned each state has different laws.
Different laws.
So that's on top of my order now is to make sure I understand.
And the laws change regularly. If you haven't had if you've got your documents finished, if you haven't had them looked at in a year, it's a good chance that a law has been tweaked.
And that's a good point, is to keep the information current.
Mm-hmm.
That is so important, because if it is outdated or incorrect, it won't be considered valuable in time of need.
Mm-hmm.
You're getting ready for a conference coming up here. I think you mentioned in December.
Yeah, actually, the first national caregiving conference in December.
Wow.
And it's hosted by a colleague of Tula's and mine, Denise Brown from caregiving.com.
Okay.
It's December 2nd and 3rd at the Marriott O'Hare. And right now, Denise is running a contest, 1 day free at the Marriott. Register by October 1st. Tula and I and Amy Goyer from AARP we're doing a presentation on Saturday on Life After Caregiving. So we're pretty excited about that. And maybe we need you to come up.
Well, that's my invitation.
You could do the radio show because it's a Saturday. You could do the radio show.
Let's put it together.
Requisition.
Absolutely. That's going to be a great conference for the caregivers, and we hope that if you can take advantage of being there or just getting some information from it, it will be most useful on your journey.
And I appreciate Tula allowing me to plug this, and I know she and Denise have chatted, but for more information on the conference, it's the easiest place is just to go to caregiving.com.
Caregiving.com. That will lead you right to the information that Chris just mentioned. So today has been just a really great show. And again, I know we could have covered many more topics and ideas for you, that long-distance caregiver, but just know Tula's here every Saturday, and she will continue her mission of helping the caregivers along the way. And help is on the air, which is what her motto is here for the show. I do too.
I love help is on the air. That is awesome.
Because that's really what Tula's base is just being a helpful resource here in the Jacksonville area, for sure.
And I just encourage all caregivers out there to share your story as you feel comfortable with your friend or your neighbor, your spouse, your partner. Sharing your story does bring comfort.
I totally agree, and everybody's story is important.
Right.
You may feel it's not. I guarantee you somebody cares enough about you to listen and to help.
Well, that's one of the beautiful things about caregivers. We all have this innate ability to understand each other, even though our caregiving journeys are different. And it's through, like I mentioned with Tula was on the air, it's all about love, care, and commitment.
So true, Chris. Yeah. Great advice. Long-distance caregivers today, glad you were on board with us. We hope that we helped you out with some information that we were able to share with you. You can always reach Tula's website at tulastipsforcaregivers.com. It is always resourceful. It has links. It has contact information. And there is always information for you to dive into. And I always encourage you to call in and talk with Tula or any of her guests moving forward here at the radio station. So, Chris, thanks a lot.
This has been fun.
It's always fun when we're in the studio.
I feel like Jacksonville's my second home.
Well, you're always welcome here. Chris and I have done the radio show just a couple times, and each time that we do it, it just gets easier and easier, and I really appreciate
We need to take this show on the road.
I think we should. I appreciate your friendship and your expertise, and you keep on caregiving.
Well, when you're with the dawn of home health care, you got to watch your P's and Q's. Thanks for having me today. It's been terrific.
You're welcome. Hey, and we want to say thanks to all of the sponsors today. We couldn't do the show without them. It's much appreciated. Everybody have a great weekend. We're going to sign off safe and sound. We will talk to you next week.
I think we still have more time.
Oh, we do. Still have a whole minute.
We still have a whole minute.
I'm trying to speed up the show, Chris.
You got to talk slower.
Forgive me.
There is the music, but no. Again, thanks for having me, caregivers. Remember, it's all about love, care, and commitment.
And help is on the air.
And listening to Tula.
Fantastic. Have a great weekend, everybody.
I love that music.
We'll talk to you soon.
Okay.